All right. Meghan and her family are traveling from their home in Nashville, Tennessee to Orlando, Florida on a Disney vacation. The trip is 685 miles. They're going to be traveling 65 miles per hour on average. Meghan used the following equation to calculate the remaining distance throughout the trip. And that equation was D is equal to 685 minus 65H. Wow, that is a weird equation. Not really, but it doesn't have the X and Y like we're used to. Okay? All right. So the first question says, what does the x-intercept mean? Say more about that.
It's like the hours she traveled, distance, like the distance, the hour, the longer hour, the more distance becomes like.
I will agree with you, but I don't know that that is what the x-intercept means. The x-intercept. What has to happen for the x-intercept if it's an x-intercept? Y is going to be 0, correct? So where do I have Damari? Yes, I'll say that it is here. Damari's like, hello. I've been saying that. It's technically not 10.5. We'll see if it, yes, it's close to 10.5. So what does that mean at this particular point? How many hours she traveled what? To get to Disney. Yes, that is the exact amount of time that it took for her to get to Disney. Okay. All right. So the x-intercept means we're going to say the amount of time. Well, do you guys have that question?
No, not exactly. It's just saying like the intercept and slope is.
I would just put it kind of up above where that first dot is and say x-intercept. So probably I would go like, it says something here. I would go like this and say x-intercept means the amount of time to drive to Disney. Now, that's without stops. This is not your typical trip to Disneyland where you're going to stop for lunch and bathrooms and all this. If we're talking about a straight line, there are no stops there. So, yeah. So this is, we always talk about real world things, but we don't always take it literally for what it is. Okay? So, what does the y-intercept mean? Where am I going to find the y-intercept? On the
685.
Okay. On the y-axis, right here, yes. And this is where the x amount is going to be 0. And how did you say? You said 685? How do you know that's 685?
Because for that, for this distance equals 685.
Remaining distance traveled. And if they haven't left, then the amount of distance they have to go is still 685 miles, right? So the y-intercept means the total distance yet to drive to Disney. Meaning you haven't even started yet. It is the full amount, the full number of miles, which is 685. Okay, and over here, we'll see if we can figure out what that is in a minute. What does the slope mean? First of all, talk to me about the slope. Okay, and?
Probably like the distance, like d equals 685 equals 65 h is like kind of like the example of y equals mx.
You're saying a lot of stuff in there. I don't know that I totally agree with everything. So yeah, this equation here is similar to y equals mx plus b. What is my y? What is comparable to my y here? Yeah, y is d. Okay, good. I can go for that. Y equals mx. What is my m in that equation?
685.
Boy, I don't have a big toe, do I? What is my slope? What is my slope here? If we say y equals mx plus b, the slope is, in y equals mx plus b, it's the what? It's the m, right? Really? Did you have to do that right now? Y equals mx plus b. What is my m value in d equals 685 minus 65h? No. No. Is it what? No. No. People, there's only so many things in that equation. No. Talking about this one. What is my slope? Damari, put that away. Sajin, what's my slope?
Like the number for the slope?
Yeah. You guys are skirting all around it. No. What is the m value? My slope in d equals 685 minus 65h. It is not 65. Osmond, he's like, what is my slope? Oh gosh, you guys. It is negative 65. There's a big difference between 65 and negative 65, is there not? Yes. The slope is negative 65, but what does that mean? Yes, h would be your x, but what does the slope mean?
It's going down.
What's going down? The average?
It's a negative slope.
It is negative slope, yes, and we can see this because it is going down. So yes, negative slope. Yeah, I'm going. But what does it mean? If your slope is negative 65, good morning. Negative 65, what? Negative 65 over 1, what does that mean is happening then? It means that for every 65 miles, okay, how do I want to put this? I'm going to say for every hour. Sorry, I'm going to back it up. For every hour, we are 65 miles closer to Disney. And remember, if D is our distance, okay, so we are subtracting essentially 65 miles after every hour. So our distance is decreasing, okay? So the slope is negative 65. For every hour, we are 65 miles. Did I say miles? I guess I did. 65 miles closer to Disney. Okay. What's my domain here?
Wait, but isn't it 65 the average though for each? Why do you put for mile?
It is 65 miles for every hour. So 65 miles. We are decreasing 65 miles. Whoops. Miles for every hour. And then H is going to be the number of hours that you have been on the road. So if you are on the road for 1 hour, you have driven 65 miles, which takes 65 off of the total distance that you have to go, which was 685. If you drive for 2 hours, then you are taking away 130 miles, which is 65 and 65. Okay? So, what is the domain? First of all, what is domain? What does that represent in general? Your x, say it again. It does have to do with the x. It is the x values of what could be the answer for this problem. Okay? So what is the smallest value, x value, I could have for this problem? 0 is going to be less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to, what's my highest value? 10 something. How could we figure out what that 10 something is? How could we figure out what that 10 something is? Solve, yes. So we have the equation D equals 685 minus 65H. If we're trying to solve for H, if I'm trying to solve for H, what is my D value right there at this point? Because that's my highest hours, right? What is my distance remaining at that point? It's 0. At this particular point, it is 0. So we want to say 0 is 685 minus 65H. Yeah, just try to put this in somewhere on that page. You're trying to solve for H, okay? Yep, move this over here by subtracting 685, negative 685 equals negative 65H. Don't forget to carry that negative. You're trying to figure out how many hours is that exactly. So divide by negative 65. Use your handy dandy calculator, and H is equal to 10.54. And that is hours. So after 10.54 hours, we are going to reach our destination of Disney World. We're going with Meghan, you know. So X can be any value less than that. It could be equal to 10.54 because that's when we actually get there, and it can go all the way down to 0. Now, this is real life, okay? This is when we're going to Disney. Could this line extend out? Yeah. Mathematically, yes. But in a real life question, this is our possible answers, only from here to here, okay? This is called quadrant 1, okay? You are used to talking about the whole coordinate plane. You have quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Quadrant 1 is always positive, positive, meaning your x values are positive, your y values are positive. This is where real life situation problems happen most of the time, okay? Because we can't have negative hours traveled. We can't have, negative distance remaining. So I think that's kind of important to talk to you about. How about the range? The range for this particular problem. First of all, what is the range? Your y values for this particular problem. What is my highest y value? 685, yes. So 685 is the largest amount. It could be equal to that. It also could be less than that. That's comparing your y, and then 0 is going to be your lowest value because you're talking about a distance. Okay? Any questions about that? So everybody got what they need to copy down? Are you being a troll again? He doesn't have a copy down. Do you need a pencil? Shh. All right. Are we ready to move? Okay. Turn the page to page 13. Carol, that ends in an E, owns a t-shirt company. She both designs and produces t-shirts for local individuals and businesses. Carol paid $18,000 for the printing machine. I don't know if that's realistic or not. That's a lot of money. 18,000? Whew. Does anybody know? Is that about where? Really? Have you looked into this? You know somebody that does it? Wow. Carol paid $18,000 for the printing machine, and it costs an additional $5 for each t-shirt produced. Okay? An equation to model this situation is C equals 18,000 plus 5t. 18,000 plus 5t. Okay? We could probably do this together right here, maybe. What does the y-intercept mean in the context of this problem? Okay, so hang on. Let me read it one more time. I always think it's good to read the problem twice. Damari, please put the phone away. Carol owns a t-shirt company. She designs and produces t-shirts. She paid $18,000 for the printing machine. It costs her an additional $5 for each t-shirt produced. An equation to model this situation is $18,000 plus 5t is equal to C. What does the y-intercept mean in the context of this problem? Rowan, you with me? The y-intercept. Yes. The cost of what? Oh, that's saying a little too much. So the y-intercept, where am I going to find the y-intercept? On the y-axis. And what happens at the y-intercept specifically? Okay, you said more than I wanted there, but you are correct. If you're talking about the y-intercept, what is always the same for any y-intercept? X has to be 0. So for the y-intercept, that means x is equal to 0 and y is some number, right? So if x is 0, what is my x value up here in this equation? In this equation right here, 18,000 plus 5t equals c. What is my x? What is the x value? Which one represents the x? In other words, along here, what are these amounts down here for? Yeah, this is the number of t-shirts. Okay, if this is number of t-shirts, then that means t here is 0. If t is equal to 0, what do I have left in this equation? If I substitute 0 in for t, what do I have? No. 18,000 is what I have. That is your y-intercept. And so what does that represent? That is the cost of the printing machine. Because T is 0. You don't have any shirts. There is no order yet. Is everybody with me on this? Okay. 18,000 is the cost of the machine. It doesn't matter how many t-shirts you have. If there is no order for one or you have not put in the design, you are at 18,000. So right there, that is your y-intercept. Okay? What does the slope mean? So if I am looking at this equation, first of all, what is my slope?
5/1.
Okay, yes, I can go for that. 5 or 5 over 1. So here's your slope. Or what about x?
Is the representing the number of t-shirts.
X is representing what? This says t. I kind of mangled over that. Not the cost. Yeah, t and x are the same, so that is the number of t-shirts that we have. Okay, so the slope is talking about, well, over 1, yes. So it is the cost. You're right. The cost of one t-shirt. The cost of one t-shirt. Now, notice here, ours are going by 100. So if I got 100 t-shirts, how much would that cost her? 500. And if you look at your y-axis, so 100 t-shirts would be 18,500. That's only a quarter of the way up. If you get 200, that's going to be 1,000. That's right there in the middle. If you get 300, that's like 3/4 of the way. 400, that takes you up to 20,000. So we are not going up very quickly. Okay? But that's only because of the way that this person has made the scale on this graph. Depending upon what numbers you use, it could look a whole lot more. So if we draw the graph, here's what it's looking like. Okay? Any question about this? So the y-intercept is the cost of the machine before she even orders any t-shirts to be making. And the slope is the amount that it costs her. The cost of one t-shirt for Carol, I should say. She's not selling them for that. That's how much it costs her for the t-shirt. Okay? All right. So we have this cool Desmos activity, but Pike is blocking Desmos. However, homework one should be due and done by midnight tonight. So come tomorrow. If it is not done, I will put a 0 in. If you don't want mom or dad or anybody who's looking over your grades to see a 0, work on that homework one and get that done by today. Okay? Did you have a question about homework? The homework? Okay. That's all I have.